troops to Baltimore? I don't know, but it would be very interesting. And today's guest is not only an expert on all things Baltimore. Well, no, he's an expert on all things Maryland too, I guess. His new book, I will pull this up. Hold on. I should be more prepared. Failure Factory comes out very soon. Actually, it's in stock now, it says. I can get it right now. I should just bring him in. I should just have him answer questions right now on it. My buddy, Chris Pabst. Chris, how long have you been investigating Baltimore City and Maryland in general?
8 years. So it was January of 2017 that we launched Project Baltimore. And I work for Fox 45 News. We're the Fox affiliate in Baltimore. Project Baltimore is a 5-person investigative team. And Tim, as you know, the only thing that we do is we track tax dollars, we track the money, we track everything that deals with public education. It started in Baltimore City, but it has recently expanded to pretty much the entire state of Maryland.
A lot of people would like to think that you're right wing, but you aren't. You actually just present facts. In fact, you won an award and you were honored by the NAACP. That's definitely something that would not happen to someone who was just right wing. That is literally a fact finder. You're one of the best, and everyone is appreciative of your work when you dig into this.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. I want to start talking about this because, timely enough, you probably saw this.
Yep.
Earlier today, Donald Trump saying Governor Westmore, Maryland, has asked in a rather nasty and provocative tone that I walk the streets of Maryland with him. I assume he's talking about the out-of-control crime-ridden Baltimore. As president, I would much prefer that he clean up the crime disaster before I go there for a walk. Westmore's record on crime is a very bad one unless he fudges his figures on crime like many other blue states are doing. But if Westmore needs help, like Gavin Newsom in L.A., I will send in the troops, which is being done in nearby D.C., and quickly clean up the crime. After only 1 week, there is no crime and murder in D.C. When it is like that in Baltimore, I will proudly walk the streets. With the failing because of crime, governor of Maryland, P.S. Baltimore is ranked the 4th worst city in the nation in crime and murder. Stop talking and get to work, Wes. I'll then see you on the streets. Also, I gave Westmore a lot of money to fix his demolished bridge. I will now have to rethink that decision. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again, President DJT. Okay.
Yeah.
Have they fixed the bridge yet in Baltimore?
Haven't even started.
What?
It's no, they haven't even started. It's you're looking at quite some time until the Key Bridge. So for the people who may not know, the Key Bridge was hit by the Dolly, which was a giant cargo ship. And as soon as it got hit, the entire bridge collapsed. Like one small section of the bridge got hit, the whole thing collapsed. 6 people were on the bridge at the time, and those 6 workers died. But no, the bridge has not been rebuilt, and it's still a giant problem for that portion of Baltimore City, Baltimore County.
That is the bridge collapsing when it happened. Horrible. Yep. Horrible. Hit in a place that just took the whole thing down. It was like when you saw, one of those old Bugs Bunny commercials where they find the little piece in the boulder where they hit it barely and then the entire thing collapses. But as someone who grew up in Baltimore, there's only one direct way now to go through Baltimore through the harbor, which is the tunnels.
Yep.
Well, you have one old tunnel, you have one new tunnel. That was about what, a third, maybe more of the traffic went through that Key Bridge.
I mean, it was tens of thousands of people every day that would use that bridge. And you're right. Now they got to go diverted through the tunnels. But the issue with that is that there's a lot of tractor trailers and other vehicles that are carrying hazardous waste or explosive waste. They can't go through that tunnel, so they have to go around the tunnel. So it's a huge issue for this area. And you would really think that if there were a time that you could cut through governmental red tape and cut through all the bureaucracy and just get something done, this would be the time to do it. But this is Maryland. Maryland's struggling.
Maryland is definitely struggling. So all that to say, you've got a new book coming out, Failure Factory. Here it is over on Amazon.com. Right now, you get the paperback for $22.99. Not a bad deal for a book, and Kindle for $9.99. This is all about your research and your work in Baltimore City. Correct?
Yep.
And it's remarkable. Can you just kind of tell me and tell the audience here, remind me, because it like never ceases to end. I do remember, I'll start with this story. You called me one day and you go, "Hey, where'd you go to high school?" I believe this is how you presented it. Hey, you're like, "Hey, where'd you go to high school?" Because I went to high school literally in a a Baltimore County school right on the Baltimore City line. And you went on to tell me that an MS-13 gang member who was a minor who was kind of jostled around in the Maryland system and was allegedly, I believe he was then later convicted, allegedly accused of murder of 2 women, was put in school there. That was the story there?
Yep, you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
And nobody was told. Nobody knew.
Yeah. No administrators, right? Nobody there. No parents. No one.
Yeah. Nobody knew that a murderer was an MS-13 gang member who was in the country illegally, was a murderer in this school. And not only was he in that school, Tim, he ended up going to another school, this one in Harford County in the northeastern part of Maryland. He ended up going to a high school there in Harford County. Also, nobody was told. And this guy was just sentenced to 80 years in prison for murder. Illegal immigrant, just an unbelievably stunning story. But Failure Factory, the reason that I wrote that book is because of stories like we're talking about right here. What is happening in our public school systems, not just in Baltimore, this story focuses on Baltimore, but it's happening everywhere. And the ideas that are being fostered in Baltimore right now, specifically with the lowering of academic standards, the manipulation of crime data, these types of things, grade changing, they're spreading not just to the counties around Baltimore, like where you're from in Baltimore County, but they're going outside of those, and it's starting to spread throughout the entire country. So the idea of this book is my 8 years investigating Baltimore City schools, all of the grade changing, all the manipulation of the data, all of the adults that are getting paid massive 6-figure salaries while the student outcomes are drastically falling. I lay out in this book all the data over 8 years in Baltimore City. And what you see, I have it right here. What you see is that in 2017, the average cost per student of that school system was $16,000. At the time, that was one of the highest in America for a large school system. In 2024, $16,000, Tim, became $23,000 per student. That is almost a 50% increase, but yet attendance is worse now than it was 8 years ago. Chronic absenteeism is worse now than it was 8 years ago. The SAT scores are down. The mean AP grades are down for the students that are in that school. The school system has gotten noticeably worse as it has gotten richer. So why is that happening? That's why Failure Factory was written.
So I have so many questions. Number one, where does all the money go? Because I know infrastructure in schools is still terrible there, correct? Like I know that you're not seeing it there. I'd imagine they are adding lots of DEI type positions. And I'm not saying like DEI and like they're doing diversity hires, which I'm sure they do. But I mean these positions that come with DEI, like these diversity coordinators and these new administrators and new C-level people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Is that, I've seen that in other school districts. Is that what's happening there too? Like where does all the money go? And you don't have to spoil the book, but where's all the money go?
It goes to the adults. It does not, much of it does not get to the classroom. It goes to the adults in the school system. You have a $1.7 billion school system in Baltimore City. This is 2024. These are brand new numbers. The book's coming out on Tuesday. So all the data in this book is the most recent available public data. You have a $1.7 billion school system. And in 2024, Tim, 10% of the students were proficient in math. 10%. So that means you have 90% of all the students in Baltimore City that were tested in math are not proficient in math after taxpayers have given this city $1.7 billion with the sole function. That's what we're told. We're told as taxpayers, the sole function of that money is to educate the children. So you ask, where's the money going? You have a massive increase in administrators that are coming into the school system. You have an increase of other adults that are coming into the school system. I can go over the data. I have it all here in the book if you want to, but the numbers can get kind of wonky there. But it's all there's over the past 8 years, you have 6,500 fewer students in Baltimore City because the city is shrinking, largely because of the school system. but you have 1,200 more adults in the school system. So you have 1,200 more employees to educate 6,500 fewer students with
because of
worsening results.
because
And
of
no,
course.
and nobody in this city, the mayor absolutely loves the CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools. She's been there 8 years, makes nearly $500,000 in total compensation. She has been there the entire 8 years that I have been here, that this book has been written. There is nobody of significant influence inside of the city, Tim, that is saying, hey, 90% of our kids are not proficient in math, but yet we're giving the school system $1.7 billion. What's going on here?
It's unbelievable. This is also a Randy Weingarten special too. I'd imagine the teachers unions just love all the money that they collect off of a city like Baltimore when you get that teacher salary increase. 8 years and they're making $500,000. I remember, I don't know how long you've been around. I think you've been in Maryland for a very long time, but remember when it was the driver for the city school system was making almost $200,000 or over $200,000 a year?
She still has a driver. She
Why
has
does
a car allowance. She has a driver, and she has the CEO of the school system. It's not a superintendent; it's the CEO. Like, that's just how they name her. She has $9,600 a year in a car allowance, but she also has a car that taxpayers give her with a driver who
what?
drives her around. Yeah, that's part of how you get to $500,000 in total compensation in a school system of 75,000 people.
So I would imagine then, so you're talking about somebody who then has probably an assistant, a driver, secretarial staff, then has the money for a car that she
Security.
can just use for whatever, right? Whatever car she wants. Then has another car paid for by taxpayers that the driver drives.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, that's why you're starting to see this more now, where throughout the country you're seeing that people are starting to ask these questions, and they're really starting to say, okay, why are my taxes going up? Well, if you look at the line items in your local budgets, I will guarantee you the first or second largest one is the public school system. And when your taxes are going up, a significant percentage of that is going to the public school system. In Baltimore County, where I am, 52% of every dollar that I give this county goes to the public school system. But then what are we seeing? We're not seeing the results for that much money. We're seeing a lowering of academic standards. We're seeing the proficiency rates are going down. We're seeing that violence is going up, even though a lot of the people that are running these school systems are doing their very best to manipulate that school violence data. And they're trying to drive down what the numbers look like. They're trying to drive down the suspension numbers. They're trying to drive down the arrest numbers. So in the book Failure Factory, I talk to the people that are victims of crimes, Tim, that are students in these schools that are victims of crime, that go to the police, that get uh, that get they get police reports written that are saying that they're victims of crimes. They go to doctors, they get medical reports saying they're victims of crimes. But then when they go to their school and file bullying complaints and try to get some accountability for the student that hurt them, the school systems say, we can't find any evidence that anything happened to your child. You know, we introduce people to those students that are in those schools, and we just document what is really happening inside many of the schools, specifically like Baltimore City, these city schools, these heavily urban schools that are trying to make the numbers look better than they actually are.
that's crazy. Looking at all the comments, by the way, there's a lot of comments here. Does anyone actually evaluate the teachers? That was a question from Ozzy. Are teachers evaluated in this? No.
Teachers are evaluated by principals.
Oh, well,
Yeah, the way that it works is a teacher will be evaluated. They'll be evaluated by a principal. But the way that the school system is structured is that we talk about in the book that there are, over the years, we have found many schools that have 0 students that are proficient in any state testing. Literally not one student in entire school systems, entire schools, school buildings are proficient in math or English from the state. However, the people that are working in that school, they get paid the same amount no matter what. So if you have all of your kids in that school that are proficient, or you don't have any of your students in that school that are proficient, your salary is the same, because the way that the unions are working is that this is your salary on year one, this is your salary on year two, and the performance of the students is not taken into account when determining how much a teacher or how much a principal is worth in Baltimore City.
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. All right, going back to more of the comments here. Buckster, thanks for sharing this. And hello. Hi, Shell. How you doing? And Shell's telling people to share. Thank you. Ozzy, I can answer this one. Where's the money come from? Maryland is one of the highest taxed states, and Baltimore City is even higher taxed than anywhere else in the country.
So the money, if I can interject there, the money comes from three places. It comes from the federal government. So this is all of our problems, and that's the point of the book, is that this is not a Baltimore City problem. This is an America problem. And the money comes from the federal government, the money comes from the state of Maryland, and the money comes from Baltimore City. So the $1.7 billion is a breakdown of those three places that are adding the revenue into Baltimore City.
Buckster says maybe teachers and administrators should be paid for results. Yeah, but that would involve everybody not being on the take in a school system. And I think Baltimore City is pretty bad. I think you'll figure that out from this book, Failure Factory, when you start getting into it. School children, here we go, Shell. School children suffer under a woke agenda, have to bring their own supplies, and women like her are like, let them eat cake. Yeah, she's talking about the school superintendent there. Unbelievable, though. Yeah. I mean, are they even able to wrangle the kids because of truancy in Baltimore City to be able to take these tests? Like, what's going on here?
Well, that's all part of the problem, Tim. So the attendance rate in Baltimore City is only about 82, 83%.
It's that high?
Well, the state average in Maryland is around 95%.
Wow.
So the attendance rate in Baltimore City is one of the lowest, if not the lowest in the state. So in any given time, about 20% of the students are not in school. And chronic absenteeism is a significant problem. So you have chronic absenteeism, which is defined as 10% or more of school you're missing. So that would come out to about 18 days per year of being absent. But yet in Baltimore City, roughly half of the students are considered chronically absent. So you have half of the kids that are not going to school to the degree that they should be going to school. But yet the school system, like we talked about before, they get paid either way.
Yeah.
So a lot of the skeptics that are in the city, or even in the public education, that world, are saying what's really the motivation of many schools to go out there, find these kids, and get them to school when your paycheck is going to be the same either way. And that's something that's a criticism that we hear a lot in Baltimore City. And it's a criticism that you're really starting to hear a lot, throughout the country. After COVID hit in 2020 and in 2021 and the virtual learning, people really kind of got to see how the public school systems are operating. And what this book does is it really gets into the minutia of how they're operating and how they're failing in many ways to educate these kids. I've talked to multiple teachers that are in this book. Their names are in the book, who say, we have graduated students who cannot read. Students that are graduating from Baltimore City schools that cannot read the diploma that they are being handed. It sounds like hyperbole, Tim. It's not. This is real life. And you started this discussion with me talking about President Trump, talking about the crime in Baltimore City, talking about him bringing the troops into Baltimore City. The crime is a symptom. The problem is the school system. So many people that are in this city just simply do not have the education that they need to be able to support their family. We talk to the people in the book that lived that life, people that are 40 years old, 60 years old, that were never taught how to read.
Wow.
And then we talk to kids that are in elementary school, kids that are in high school now that can't read, kids that get to high school in Baltimore City that can't read. We tell all of these stories because they're so important, and it leads to everything else that is that is causing significant problems in Baltimore City. And there are former principals that we interview. There are former charter school operators who say, if these kids were leaving Baltimore City with the proper education, they're proficient in math, they're proficient in English, they can get jobs, they can grow the city, they can be part of the tax base. But when they don't have those opportunities, as we have seen for decades in Baltimore City, oftentimes people resort to other measures. And it goes back to the situation that Maryland's dealing with now, and that Donald Trump is dealing with now, and that Governor Wes Moore is dealing with now, saying, hey, Trump's like, I might bring troops into Baltimore so we can lower your crime rate. That would probably lower the crime rate, in the short term. But if you want to do it in the long term, you have to increase the quality of public education.
Here's a couple more comments. Educators who have no investment in our children should not be employed. Agree. 100%. It's all by design to destroy inner city since the 60s. I saw a really good comment actually that I wanted to respond to. You don't have to respond to the meme ones, Chris. But outside of the inner harbor, Baltimore is an absolute shithole, 10 times worse than what you saw on the wire. I would not even count the inner harbor as a safe place anymore. And I love Baltimore. Somebody who grew up there, who gave tours on the USS Constellation downtown after high school. Like, I loved downtown. As somebody who had, when I was a kid, I saved up money to get Orioles season tickets, like a 29 game plan back when baseball was still affordable as a kid. I used to go down on the light rail all the time. I would not recommend someone at my age back in the day, 16, 17, getting on the light rail by yourself and going down to the inner harbor by yourself the way that I used to. It's absolutely, the town has changed so significantly in 20 years that, like, it's no longer safe enough to go down there. It's no longer the glory that it was at one point under a Democrat, by the way, a conservative Democrat, and William Donald Schaefer back in the day. The system has shifted. The whole city has shifted in a terrible, terrible way.
Well, let's talk about some numbers here. So, this blew me away when I was doing research for the book, and I was kind of looking into Baltimore's history. Baltimore in 1920 had a higher population than it does today. That is mind blowing to me. That over 100 years, the city has gotten smaller. Now, the population peaked around like the 50s, somewhere in there. And then it just starts cratering, and it starts going down and down and down. In 1920, Baltimore was the 7th largest city in America. Today, Baltimore is the 30th largest city in America. And you have to start asking the question, why is that happening? Well, people are saying, okay, it's because of redlining, it's because of white flight, it's because of the interstate system. Okay, every city in America dealt with that. Every city in America did. Why is Baltimore the one that you're seeing that is struggling? Why is Cleveland? Why is Detroit? Why are those cities the ones that are struggling the most? Well, according to federal test scores, the 3 worst public education systems in America for large cities, Cleveland, Detroit, and Baltimore. Yeah. It all goes back to the public education system. And when you look at the amount of money that is going into it, and you look at the results that are coming out to it, it was a no-brainer for me to write this book, because it is a warning. It is a warning to people, not just in Maryland, but throughout the country, that this is what happens if you are not focused on your public education system, if you do not demand that your public education system have really high standards for kids. Let me give you an example here. This is going to blow your mind. Okay. Baltimore City has what's known as a 50% rule. Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay. What this means is that the lowest possible grade that a student can get is a 50. If the student does not hand in work, if the student does not show up to class, if the student learns nothing, the lowest possible semester grade that student can get is a 50. So out of a 100-point scale, they cannot get below a 50 if they don't even show up to class. Now, passing is a 60. A 60% is a D-, that's passing. So one of the major issues in the book is grade changing. And it is considered an unwritten rule in Baltimore City that 58s, 59s are rounded up to 60s. So now, if the lowest possible grade a student can get is a 50, and a 58 is rounded up to a 60, Out of a 100-point scale, a student only has to earn 8 points in order to graduate a course. So why is this being done? All right, so I contact city schools and I'm like, hey, you got this rule buried into one of your policies, in the mountain of regulations and stuff in Baltimore City that says a student cannot get below a 50% as a semester grade. Can you please explain that? And Tim, this is how they explain this. What they say is, we don't want to put a student in a position where they give up. We don't want to give a student a 0 because that student may think that I could work really hard for the last half of the year and I'm still not going to be able to pass this class. So we're just going to give them a 50 and they can miss the first 75% of school, which, by the way, we document in the book where kids are doing this. They're missing 100, 120 days of school and graduating, mind you. And the school system is excusing it. And they're saying, we don't want to set these kids up for failure. If they decide that they really don't want to do anything in the first half of the year, we want to be able to give them an opportunity that they can still pass a class or pass a grade in the second half of the year. That is one of those regulations that this book is going to teach the readers. If you see that regulation coming to your school system is in trouble. It just recently came to Baltimore County. And why did it come to Baltimore County? Because more kids were failing. And so instead of school systems, when the kids start lowering the academics, instead of the school systems trying to get those kids back up, they come up with things like the 50% rule that allows those kids to be able to prosper when they're not doing the work. So in Failure Factor, we talk to teachers who are saying, these kids understand this stuff. They're not dumb. They know they cannot come to class the first half, and the teacher has to give them a 50, and they can still pass the class. And the amount of damage that many people are saying that this is doing to kids is irreversible. However, what does it do? It increases the pass rate of a school system, and it makes the school system look more successful than it actually is.
Wow. That's just crazy. That's crazy.
And I have other examples in the book that are like the 50% rule that most people don't even know exist. But you need to start looking at this stuff because it is telling you that your school system is slipping. And that is how they're trying to get kids to graduate. And that's how you get a kid to graduate, Tim, who can't read.
That is absolutely wild. I want to talk a little bit about your qualifications here, by the way, because we mentioned this earlier, and I found I found this guy, which I think. Let me see if that fits into the. Look at that.
Yeah.
Again, NAACP honored you. Again, this is a lot of things that everyone across the board agrees with. Fixing the school system for kids, fixing the Baltimore school system, fixing inner city school systems, making sure that taxpayer money goes to what it's supposed to go to. This is a universal thing to the point that the NAACP honored you and Project Baltimore. And again, the statement was the Randallstown NAACP Excellence in Advocacy Award recognizes Chris and Project Baltimore, who have contributed significantly to benefit African Americans and other minority students who often confront challenges and obstacles in their education. Accordingly, the award is given in special recognition of his outstanding service to enhance success for students regardless of their background. And that's from the president of the Randallstown NAACP. Again, like this is a universal issue that you have uncovered. That everyone should be on board with. But yet, when you start to go after these school systems, they actually have added new ways of hiding data from you, right?
Yeah. So this is just stunning. All right. So what you're talking about is a couple of years ago, we had done a series of stories. We looked at state testing data. And when we looked at the data, we were able to analyze it. And the state just throws the data out there. It's just massive amounts of data that doesn't really mean anything. You have to look at it yourself and analyze it. And I just happen to work for a company, Sinclair, that is willing to allow us to do this type of work, which is time consuming. And we look at the data and we start analyzing it. And we find that there is a large amount of schools, specifically high schools in Baltimore City, that do not have any students that are proficient in math. So we start looking more into it, and we find that 40%, nearly half of all of the high schools in Baltimore City had 0 students that were proficient in math. This is 2023, okay? Now the most updated data we have is 2024. So this is only 2 school years ago. Hey, this is very recent. That was an explosive story. It went viral. You may remember earlier this year, Donald Trump, when he had the event at the White House, and he was saying that he was signing the executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. The only school system he mentioned was Baltimore. And he said 40% of the high schools in Baltimore City have 0 students proficient in math. Well, I mean, as you know, Tim, that was my reporting.
Yeah.
And that's my reporting that is in this book. So after we exposed that, okay, after we exposed that 40% of the high schools, 0 kids proficient in math, what did the school system and what did the state do? The reaction was not, hey, you know what? Let's have some tutors. Let's hold these kids accountable. Let's raise the academic standards. That was not the response. The response was, let's change the way that we report the data to the public so Chris Pabst and Project Baltimore can no longer analyze the data and determine how many students we have proficient in math or English. That is exactly what they did. They literally changed the way the state reports the data so we could no longer have a headline like that. That is what these school systems are doing. So when we talked about it a little bit ago, and we were talking about the data and how the school systems are doing everything that they can to make the data of a school look better, that's what we're talking about. The reaction was not to give the kids a better education. The reaction was to stop the media, stop Chris Pabst, stop Project Baltimore from being able to report how poorly our kids are actually doing. It is stunning to think about that was what they did.
It is. That's absolutely wild. How many times have you been escorted or asked to leave public property when doing your job, simply asking questions? And you're not an aggressive
Oh,
guy. You're not at all an
no.
aggressive guy. You're very respectful. I've known you for a very long time, and we may have had a few drinks together. You're not an aggressive guy. You're one of the nicest people in the world. I've seen your reporting. How many times have you've been asked to leave public property asking real questions?
A lot. I mean, almost. It's very common. I get the police called on me fairly regularly at schools. So I go to schools, and I tell these stories in the book too. That I go to schools because I found a principal who is instructing their teachers to change grades,
Oh,
and we go there and we're like, hey, we want to talk to the principal about them instructing their teachers to change grades and pass students who are not deserving of passing. And the reaction there oftentimes is just to call the police on me. And that happens fairly regularly, that I show up to a school. Now I have a camera, right? So I'm not like showing up by myself in a suit and a tie. You know, I got my cameraman, I got my little notebook and my microphone, and I just simply want to ask principals questions about how kids are passing when they miss 110 days of school. How can that kid pass your classes? How can that kid graduate? And they call the cops on me, or they just tell me, you know, you need to leave the property right now, or we're going to charge you with trespassing. That happens too. And it's just, it's really frustrating from a reporter's perspective, because these are taxpayer funded schools with taxpayer funded adults that are working in them, that are educating future taxpayers. And all I'm doing is trying to ask questions about how these kids are passing when they're missing 110 days of school, or they're failing 13 classes in 2 years. How is that kid getting a high school diploma? And they call the cops on me.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. By the way, just for everybody who's watching, how many Emmys do you have? Just go ahead and say it.
Between, God, it's going to embarrass me. Between regional and national, I have 50. So there's 20 of them right there.
Yeah.
And then I have 6 more over there, and the rest of them I have at work.
And you said there's only, because I talked to you beforehand, there's only a handful of people that you know that have that many Emmys ever.
Yeah, there's a handful of people I know in the country that have more than me. I've been very fortunate, so I'm not trying to be braggadocious here.
No, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I work with a great team. You know, I'm the face. I'm the one talking to you, but the other 4 people that are on our team, you know, they should be right behind me right now. And a lot of them do all the work. So they're a lot of them dig into the data. They're doing the graphics, they're making it look great, they're putting the social media stuff together. I'm just the one that has the honor of talking about it and the honor of working with them. It's more of an honor for me to work with them than I think for them to work with me. But yeah, we've been very fortunate.
This is an interesting comment from Shell. They're educating people to make
Yeah.
weak-minded taxpayers. The problem is when you're not educating kids, they're not going to go get like your Baltimore City school kids are not going out and getting big-time jobs or staying in the city. So they're just the state and city are losing money with this strategy. I don't understand what they're thinking here, other than to defend themselves and pad their own pockets.
Well, let's go back to the 50% rule. Okay. I mean, what's an easier thing to do? Is an easier thing to do if you're a school system to work overtime, stay late, come in early, and really work with these kids, get the chronic absenteeism rate down? Is it easier to do that, or is it easier to just say, you know what, we're going to give them a 50, no matter how little work they do? You don't even have to show up. We're going to give you a 50. We're going to give you half credit. I mean, what's easier? And again, if you work those extra hours, or if you don't work those extra hours, it doesn't matter. You're going to get paid the same amount next year. You're going to get paid the same amount in 5 years. You're going to get paid the same amount in 10 years. That's just the way that the public education system in America has really developed over the past 10, 20, and 30 years. And it's just where we are. And it's the reason that this book is important, because what you just asked is a great question. And we're asking the question, at what point, if you're spending $1.7 billion a year, Baltimore, on your school system, and 90% of your students are not proficient in math, at what point do you start holding the adults of the school system accountable and saying, you need to educate our kids better, or you're not going to continue to get this money? But in a state like Maryland, that is very unlikely to happen, because it's all tied to money. It's money, 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 money. About a half an hour ago, what did we talk about? There's 6,500 fewer kids in the school system in the past 8 years, but 1,200 more employees of the school system. And the academic results are worse now than they were 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Welfare status, low info photos, says S Smurfs. No ROI whatsoever from Ozzy. Again, all of this just it should be common sense stuff, but just isn't. I don't get it. I'm going to change the topic on you real quick.
Sure.
Because you don't just do this. Let's see here. Pull this guy up. Hold on. I'm being very. I had it pulled up earlier. There you go.
Look at that.
So you got inducted into. I watched this the other day. I forget what the name of it is. What's the club that you got? You got an actual certificate. Here we go. I just see it right here. Where's that?
Yeah.
Oh, the Whopper Club. So you went paddlefish fishing in on the North Dakota Montana border. You have a new series called Hidden Limits Outdoors. This is what keeps you sane in the middle of everything else that you're doing.
Yep.
And I want to show, where's the picture of the fish? I just had that picture. There it is.
Yep. There it is.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So so 2 weeks ago, I launched a YouTube channel called Hidden Limits Outdoors. And I'm just going to be going around, and the whole concept of the show is that there's no professional fishermen, charter boats, or tour guides. I'm trying to do a show that relates to the average person who has a full-time job, probably has kids, doesn't have $1 million boat, doesn't have $500,000 electronics, doesn't have sponsorships with, they got 5,000 lures and stuff in their boat. I'm just trying to make a fishing show. I kind of equate it to like Dirty Jobs. Just a fishing show for the everyday fisherman, of which I am. I got a Monday through Friday job where I chase down school officials and in Baltimore City in Maryland. And this is how I unwind, man. I fly out to North Dakota. I put a GoPro on my head, and I try to catch 300 million year old river monsters in the Missouri River. It's an awesome time, dude. Yeah, it's really great time.
I saw you flew into Bismarck, North Dakota. I've done that. I've been in that little plane before, getting in there, and what a gorgeous part of the country to go see. Is it I'd imagine it's not expensive to go take that trip up to
Yeah,
Montana.
a couple
You fly,
$100.
yeah,
I mean, you go out of BWI, which is, my preferred airport. I can get up to North Dakota for maybe 250, $300, especially if you go in the winter
yeah, yeah, oh
when
yeah.
no one wants to go there. But I love ice fishing, so I'll fly up there, and it's not just North Dakota. I go all around the country doing this, and it's just fun, man. I gotta get away from the 50% rule and stuff like that, because it just, after a while, getting so many cops called on you simply for trying to ask a question about grade changing, you got to get away from it. So this is my release, man. Fishing, crabbing, oystering, mussling, clamming. I love anything on the water.
That's a paddlefish. Chris, can you talk about this? Because
Yeah.
this is a very interesting episode, by the way. I'll zoom out here so you guys can go see, and I liked it already. Catching trophy paddlefish in North Dakota. That you can only fish for this, what, a couple of weeks a year?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So paddlefish eat zooplankton. So that was a 76.3 pound freshwater fish, which, to put that into perspective, the largest freshwater fish ever caught in my home state of Maryland was 45 pounds. So that fish is more than, oh, there you go, 47.5 pounds. So
I watched it. Listen, I watched the
Yeah.
episode. I remember when you made the points.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that fish is enormous, and it eats zooplankton. So you can't catch it with bait. So you have to snag the thing. And the way that the rules work is, like, once you snag it, you have to keep it. And there was one guy there, Tim, he caught a 14-inch one. So he had to keep it because he can't put it back. And I was lucky enough that I caught that one, although it took me like 2 hours. But the season's only 3 weeks long. And the fish are running up the Missouri River to spawn. And the only time that you can catch them is when they're doing that, because you know where they are. Yeah. And outside of that, you have no idea where these things are going to be, and you can't catch them with bait because you can't put zooplankton on a hook and catch one of these things. And it's really a great experience. And there's not that many states that have paddlefish like that. So you got Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and you got a few states south of there. But what a great experience to be able to do something like that. And that was of Hidden Limits Outdoors. That was my first episode. So 2 weeks ago, I launched with that episode.
It's incredible, and I would recommend everybody go see it. Hidden Limits Outdoors, right there. Oh, look, I'll hit the subscribe button. There we go.
Oh, well,
it'll be more than just K-pop videos for me now. I'll start paying attention to other things. What do you think overall? To go back to the terrible topic.
Yeah.
What do you think overall? Like, why are these cities so defensive? So, like, here's earlier today. This is Brandon Johnson from Chicago when Trump said, "Hey, I might send troops there too." Here he is. Hold on real quick.
And so, look, we're going to remain firm. We'll take legal action. But the people of this city are accustomed to rising up against tyranny. And if that's necessary, I believe that the people of Chicago will stand firm alongside of me as I work every single day to protect the people of this city.
So he thinks that the citizens of Chicago should rise up against tyranny, aka the federal government coming in to protect the citizens of Chicago. I mean, are the leaders in these towns, and you've seen them obviously up close, you've gotten to ask a lot of questions just in Baltimore, but now you see it spreading around the country. Are these people just in their own bubbles that they don't realize what the real world is like, or do they know what's happening and they're willfully like lying and denying?
Well, I guess I can speak on behalf of Baltimore. So I do interview the mayor fairly regularly. And when it comes to the school system, whenever new data comes out, or I might even ask him about this book when it comes out too, they take ownership of their city, and many times they don't want help. And you do see that. And with the mayor of Baltimore, he's a very proud guy. He's a young guy. He's about 40 years old. He graduated from Baltimore City Public Schools. He by all accounts loves the city. But they are people that, especially if you're going to have a Republican come into this city, it's not something that they're really interested in. Now, I will say this, and here's another stunning statistic of the stunning statistics that we've been talking about. There's not one Republican elected to any position that represents Baltimore except Donald Trump. He is the only Republican who has any jurisdiction over Maryland at all. Every state level position is a Democrat. Every federal position. The 2 senators and all of the House of Representatives, U.S. House of Representative members that represent Baltimore City are Democrats. Every state House and state Senate elected official is a Democrat. The mayor, city council, comptroller, treasurer, auditor, every elected position in Baltimore City is a Democrat. There's not one Republican elected to any position. So when you have somebody like Donald Trump who's going to come in and essentially appear to make the case that, listen, you guys aren't doing a very good job, so I, a Republican, I'm going to come in and I'm going to see if I can help. I think that there's a lot of concern over it working. What if it works? And I think it's a terrifying proposition for them. And I don't know too much about what Mayor Brandon Scott of Baltimore has said about, I know Wes Moore, the governor, has said a lot about it. I'm not sure what Brandon Scott has said, but my assumption would be that he would not be welcoming Donald Trump's help.
No, I don't think so. And Ozzy said, well, since there's all Democrats in office, then it must be Trump's fault somehow. Yeah, of course. The one thing that was a kicker for me a few years ago is how quickly they were able to eliminate the Confederate statues that the Pelosi family had put up. D'Alessandro was actually her father and brother. And they could find the money and pass overnight the ability to quickly remove Confederate statues, but they can't fix the school system and they can't take care of the finances for the kids. It's
$1.7 billion, man. And it's going up. I think the current fiscal year, I think they're up to $1.8 billion. And when the data comes back, it's going to be fairly similar to what we're seeing now, because over the 8 years that this book covers, it doesn't really change. If anything, it goes down. And a lot of people would say, hey, we had COVID in there. Yeah. But if you look at the data prior to COVID, it was going down prior to COVID. Now, COVID certainly made the situation worse, but it was going down before. And there was no alarm then that we have, 90% of our kids are not proficient in math in the city, and there's not really any alarm now. So, it's something that from an investigative reporter's perspective, we want answers, and we want to know why this is acceptable, why they continue to dump billions of dollars into a school system, but yet we're not getting the results out of that school system. And the only thing I can really say is that if you want this to change, you got to pay attention. Yeah. And you got to vote for people that are going to hold the school system accountable. And they're going to say, wait, hold on. In the past 8 years, director level positions have gotten a 21% increase in pay. And there's more directors in the school system. Why is our chronic absenteeism rate 50%? Can somebody please explain that to me? And you don't really get answers. Now, outside of the city, we have people like you. And we do have a lot of Republicans and a lot of conservatives. The NAACP, we've been talking a lot, wrote the foreword for this book. The Dr. Barbara Desmond, who awarded me with a state level NAACP award as well 2 years ago, because they recognize what's going on here. Baltimore City is 93% minority students, 93%. And 90% of them are not proficient in math, and you get, and the reason that I've mentioned that is because you got to keep mentioning it. You can't just say it one time and then just let it go. You got to keep saying it because it's such an outrageous number that you got to start getting people like the NAACP to start saying, hey, you're right. Like, it should not be this way. We really do need to demand better.
Yeah. The book is Failure Factory: How Baltimore City Public Schools Deprive Taxpayers and Students of a Future, by Chris Papps, who's sitting there right now. 50 Emmy Awards, a couple of NAACP honors, and he's basically pissed off every corrupt educator in Baltimore City who has deprived students of a good education. By the way, I think that was answered, Dylan, while he was just speaking. Where's the money sent to Baltimore? What's it being used for? It's to pay all these new executives and to give everybody their raises. Is this in? I don't know if this is in Baltimore City, but 6 vice principals per school. Oh yeah, that's kind of hyperbole there. But what's a vice principal make in Baltimore City? 130, 140?
Maybe more. So you're looking at situations where a principal can make around 160. They can get up to the 170s. Keep in mind that I think the average household income in Baltimore City is around $30,000, and that creates a lot of issues in this city, because if you were to go to a lot of the schools, you see very nice cars that are parked in the parking lot,
Yeah.
and they're surrounded by blight, and they're surrounded by row homes that are collapsing, that
Horrible.
have more plywood than glass, that are covering the windows. And when you see people that are in these positions of making this much money, and your kid can't read, or your kid's reading at a 3rd grade level and they're in 10th grade, and you're talking to a principal making $170,000 a year, driving a brand new Lexus, these, I'm not making that up. These are the concerns and the complaints that we hear on a regular basis inside Baltimore City. That's the real life thing. I mean, think about it. If that were you,
Yeah.
you drive up to a school and you're living in an area where the average income is $30,000, and your teacher, your kid's principal is driving an $80,000 car, and your kid's 7 grades behind in their reading and their math level. I mean, this stuff is, there's a huge frustration in this city, and there's a lot of people that are upset about what's going on, and that's why I think in many instances you're seeing the city shrinking. People are leaving. What was the 7th largest city in America 100 years ago is now the 30th, because people are getting out. They're seeing this stuff is happening over and over again, and they feel powerless. They feel extremely powerless, because they're going up against a $1.7 billion school system with very good attorneys, very expensive attorneys, and a lot of these parents are educated in the same school system that they're now sending their kids to. And can I just talk about parents for a second?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people that might be listening to us right now saying, what about the parents? Why aren't the parents held accountable? Why aren't the parents the ones to blame when their kids aren't going to school or their kids aren't getting the proper education? And I'm just going to say, after doing this for 8 years and talking to the parents that get a lot of the criticism, I can't blame the parents.
Yeah.
Because and this is going to sound really harsh, but read this book, Failure Factory, and you'll understand why I'm saying this. Many of the parents are extremely undereducated because they also went to Baltimore City public schools. And I interview parents in this book who can't read. They can't read. How are they supposed to help their kids when they went to Baltimore City schools 20 years ago and they were pushed through that school system and they can't read too? And I'll also say that the school system gets $1.7 billion. The sole function of that money is to educate kids. That parent's not getting $1.7 billion. And it doesn't matter what environment that kid leaves when they walk through that schoolhouse door. The school system is getting the money. The school system is the one that has to be held accountable. And if they can't educate that kid, do you ever see them give the money back?
No.
No, they never give the money back.
Yeah.
They keep the money. So they get the money. The kid doesn't get educated. They keep the money anyway. And then people want to blame the parents. And I'm not saying that parents don't have any culpability. I mean, having 2 parents that love you or having 1 parent that loves you is enormously important in a child's education. But it's the school system's responsibility to educate every single kid that comes into that school system. And when they don't do that, they need to be held accountable. And for a very long time in Baltimore, there's no accountability in terms of the educational outcomes of the students.
It's wild. It's wild. Again, the book is Failure Factory. You can go get it at Amazon.com. Chris Pabst, a great friend, multiple-time Emmy Award winner, dozens upon dozens of Emmys and awards across the board for all of his great work. Shell, I'll answer the question for you. Does Baltimore City have school choice? No.
Oh, whoa. Hold on.
Oh,
hold
wait,
on.
do they?
Yes.
What?
Wait, hold on. Let me explain. Okay, so in Baltimore City, if you are in elementary school you are zoned. You have to attend your zoned elementary school. But when you get into middle school and high school, you have school choice. The problem is you're choosing between mostly schools that are undereducating the students. So you have a couple schools in Baltimore City, and you know what they are, Tim. City, Poly, Western, School for the Arts. You got like 4 schools in Baltimore City, 4 high schools that are high achieving. Outside of that, most of the school systems, most of the schools are struggling, but there is school choice, and you can go to the schools that you want to go to in middle school and high school, and the good schools, the high-end schools, you got to test into. So a lot of people, they want to go to those schools, but they can't get into them because they were undereducated when they were in elementary school. But yes, the school system actually does have school choice for middle school and high school. However, it's only in Baltimore City. You don't have school choice outside of Baltimore City. So that's where the catch would be.
That is unbelievable. Chris Papps, thank you for all that you do. Again, the book is Failure Factory. You can stick around and watch what I'm about to do in a second if you'd like. I just finished editing the raw edition of my next What's in Your Office with Wes Hunt. He's a congressman from Texas, a very charismatic, very funny guy. It's a really fun video. It's not fully edited yet for the Daily Signal release, but I figured I'd run it tonight since I spent all day editing it, and it took me a minute, and I'm still going to be unhappy with the edit that I made on it today. So you can stick around if you want. If not, I will talk to you later. I'm happy to keep you here, though.
No, totally stay. Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's make us go down to I'll make us go down to tiny corners.
I feel like this is an episode of Cribs,
It really is. This is where the magic,
happens.
Congressman,
Welcome aboard. How are you?
I'm great. Do you greet everybody at the door like this?
Yes.
Awesome.
No, not really. Because you're special.
I know.
You're special. You're my special guest.
They used to tell me I was special when I was on the drunk bus too. It's fine. What?
I feel like Mr. Rogers, like, won't you be my neighbor?
Yes.
Won't you
Do we need to change shoes and the whole thing too? And put on
a sweater. Put a sweater.
You got a lot of oil stuff here. Tell me why.
I'm the energy congressman of the world. The energy corridor is entirely in my district, and basically every single major oil and gas and energy company has a play in my district.
Wow.
And so there's about a 3-mile stretch of highway, and there are just energy and oil and gas companies all down that stretch, and I have the honor of representing them.
No pressure there.
Yes.
Just the energy production of America in one stretch.
No big deal. No big deal. I'll take it. And I've dubbed myself the energy congressman of the world, right? Wow. So it's just, you have to give yourself titles, right?
It's not like you would have a championship belt with that on it. Right?
Well, stop it. Maybe you've seen more than you think. And then you look up here, and of course there are our armed services that I am very, very proud of, and being a member of the United States Army makes me a very, very proud former serviceman, along with my siblings and along with my father. So my dad's retired colonel in the military. My sister went to West Point, my family first, class of 93. I went to West Point second, class of 04. My brother went to West Point third, class of 2005. So there's 60 years of military service just in my immediate family.
Wow.
So when you look at this and those that have served and given a lot to this country, I'm very, very proud of that.
Awesome.
So how about my office?
Let's go in. I'll follow you. I don't want to just,
So I view my office as like my life and what I've done in my life. And it's something that I'm very proud of, something that my parents instilled in us, the importance of education. So went to Cornell University. I have 3 master's degrees from Cornell. Went to West Point, graduated 2004. My parents always taught us God plus education equals success. You have those 2 things and hard work, you can be anything you want in this country.
Are you the most degreed person?
I'm definitely in the top 5. This is something I actually got to look at.
Some of these people up here, they feel like they didn't get much training in anything.
You don't really need it at the end of the day. In this job, I've realized you have to be just intellectually curious.
Yeah.
And that's what's most important, because you'll be talking about things ranging from oil and gas energy, like all these hard hats up here are assets and energy companies that I have actually visited and gone to their sites. And you have to be able to talk about that, and then you have to talk about insurance, and then cryptocurrency, and then flooding issues, all in one day. You'd just be surprised at everything that comes to
I don't think a lot of your colleagues on the other side of the aisle could handle many more than one topic. Hey, here's the thing, and I know because it's just fresh in my mind. Hank Johnson plays the guitar occasionally. Have you seen this?
I have seen it.
Do you play the guitar? You coming up with songs?
I have not. I can't play the guitar, but I really enjoy the memes of him playing.
So it's fine. It doesn't stop him from trying. You have so much stuff from Trump.
Yeah.
Because you were kind of a first mover with.
So this is actually the endorsement. I was the first person in the entire country to endorse President Trump on his second run.
Wow.
First person in the country. And so he sent me that. He called me after I endorsed him. He sent me that. Thank you. And then from that day forward, I was able to really be helpful in the re-election. I got to travel to Iowa with him. Got to travel all over the country. Got to speak at Coachella and Nevada and Pennsylvania and Florida and Mar-a-Lago multiple times. And I think that's just him honoring, look, I was loyal from the very beginning. I've always been loyal from the very beginning. And I think he really appreciates that.
Well, he was the right guy the whole time. He signed your family for a beautiful family.
But he said a beautiful family. So that's him giving his approval of what I would think is a very beautiful family.
It is a beautiful family. I love this. I love how many side things you have from Trump. What incredible. Also, like, he's not telling me I look good. I'll tell you that. The hoodie gimmick he's going to get on me for. But this is incredible. More importantly, the real artwork is down here.
Of course. That's my little Olivia, who comes in here and visits, and this is Victoria. She did this one. That's my two little girls, and every time they come to visit, they have to see their new art on the wall at some point. And if they don't, they will draw something and they will tape it up there themselves, and I will not take it down.
They'll just draw on the wall.
Yeah, that's right.
That's great. Incredible. You do have a championship belt.
Of course I have a championship belt. And it says, the energy congressman of the world.
You might be the only person other than me who has gotten championship belts made for themselves.
No,
and
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. Trust me. There's real Chads out there that understand the value of having a belt.
You might actually be able to retain that if you had to wrestle for it around here too. I feel like you're like the one guy who could.
100%, and I pride myself in that. And no one's taking my championship belt. No one.
Has anyone tried?
They better not.
What do you got over here? You got anything good over here? What am I looking at here?
So this is. Let me tell you what this is right here. So this is the Hennessy F5 Venom. Okay. Mm-hmm. John Hennessy. Are you familiar with Hennessy Motors by chance?
No, I'm just familiar with the liquor.
It's like a Roush. Aren't we all? And I'm black.
I grew up in Baltimore,
Hennessy is something that's a big deal to us.
I grew up in Baltimore, so we learned to steal it early.
Hennessy.
Military service, obviously, you're.
That's my officer saber, and that's my cadet saber.
Wow. So
get one as an officer, and that's the one I'm holding actually in that photo is that one. That's one I had for 4 years when I was a cadet at West Point.
Law enforcement, you got a couple of challenge coins here.
Got a few, but the most important one is that one right there from the White House.
I don't have one of those yet. I need one of those. I hear a lot of members of Congress are very jealous of a little setup you have in the back of your office.
May or may not, yeah.
That you have maybe started a little trend.
Yeah,
that they. All right. Well.
I feel like this is an episode of Cribs, you know?
It really is. This is where the magic.
Where the magic happens?
Yeah.
I would like to thank my staff for setting this up because we realized that we could just do so much more here without having to go to another studio. Let's just set this up here in the back, and it's perfect. It's the Zen Garden Studios. Is the official name of it here.
It's, every member is going to try to steal this, and it's going to be some janky stuff from somebody. They're not going to be able to replicate this.
Often imitated, never duplicated.
Yeah. Are they, what's in those books? Or are they just sort of this
The Art of the Tweet, yeah, the one on the bottom. Which is all of President Trump's tweets that are hilarious.
I should have done that.
So you want to know what's really funny about that? You asked if I read all these, and this is the House Rules Manual. And I'm nah, Art of the Tweet though, read that.
Jasmine Crockett, I think, has read that.
The House Rules Manual. Guarantee she has not. I 100% guarantee.
Well, she'd have to be able to read. All right, last thing that we do in every office. What kind of snacks you got around here?
For snacks, we have Zen, if you'd like one.
I'll take. Wait, you have branded Zen?
Oh, yes. It says Hunt, and it has my my pronouns, American and Apache pilot.
Also, that's 100 million. I can't handle that.
I mean, but that scares me.
That's actually a level at which, look, I can't put one. I'm going to be dead on the ground. This is going to give me a heart attack if I have one of these.
These are my snacks when we drink. Would you like a Celsius before you leave?
Can we get a
Whatever
shot
would
of
you
this?
like?
So I know that you have cola, and I've never had cola anywhere else. And is that lemon lime?
It is.
No, how do you have the rare? You have the rare Celsius.
Look, I told you.
I'm sorry, I'm yelling in your ear.
Our office operates at a very high level. You're gonna be ready to go today. You're gonna be ready to go today, Tim.
I'm good. I'll do both. Here, let's go.
It's like Stone Cold Steve Austin, man. You're good. You're good. Stone Cold Tim Austin right here in the house.
My heart rate.
Can I get a hell yeah?
You really are the coolest member of Congress.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
and
it.
there will be nobody else who gets anywhere near this kind of tour.
We're very, very lucky. It's an honor to be able to serve here. I don't say that to exaggerate it. I mean, it's an honor to be here. It really is. And I love my job, and I love my team, and I love what I get to do every day. I really do.
Other than the Astros sucking, it's really good.
Not so much this year. How about that? How about that? How about this last decade? How about the Rangers, huh?
Do you like how he didn't even mention the hat?
I don't have to.
I
don't have to
sneakily.
because y'all getting your asses kicked right now, so it's fine.
I'm done. Can we just leave? Is there just a door? Just get out of it. I don't even know where this goes. I'm just leaving.
Bye, Texas Raider fan.
There we go. Oh.
What about your Orioles hat? I was wondering where your Orioles hat is.
Well, I have a million hats. You know, and I'm a Rangers guy now because I was there when they won the World Series. So, yeah. Is it better than iced coffee? It is better than iced coffee, Shell. Especially when my friends at the American Beverage Association.
I guess the question I have is, what belts have you had made for yourself?
I have a bunch.
Do you really?
Yeah, I got.
This is new. This is new to me. I've known you for years.
I'm an adult child. I have all sorts of dumb shit in my house, and there's one right down there on the floor. I don't want to grab it right now, but there's all sorts of stuff I have around here. And God forbid, I just put an offer in on a house the other day. If I get it, it's going to be I'm getting all new logos made and all sorts of stuff for the house. So,
okay, someday I'll see some of these belts.
All right, well, I got a pile of them.
And next time you're up in DC, I'm 60 miles away, man. You always seem to forget that.
Well, no, I know it's 60 miles away. That's why I'm not there. So far. I have to get on the train.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours.
It takes forever. Takes forever. Take the MARC train to the light rail. I've done it before. One time I had to run off the train in an emergency. It's a whole nother story. I pooped in the woods. All right. Well, I thought it was the woods. It was 2 trees and a bush next to Timonium Fairgrounds. It's a time.
I actually know Timonium Fairgrounds. I'm aware. State Fair there is right now, you know.
Oh, yeah. Look, I've got Shell said you should see my s'more squish. I do have my s'more squishy handy to like my stress. It's a large s'more that's a stress ball. Got that here.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, dude, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I think Failure Factory is an important book. And I think that got to spread the word, man. People need to know where their billions of dollars are going and how the school systems are operating.
And and I only found 4 errors in my special that I just showed to you. So I actually am reprocessing the video while we talk. I made the corrections while we were sitting here. Everybody should go get Failure Factory and go over and get it on Amazon.com right now. Failure Factory by Chris Pabst. Again, an incredible book, incredible research, how the Baltimore City public schools deprive taxpayers and students of a future. Looking forward to talking to you more in the future. You are my education expert. You're my failed education expert. Not you personally failed, but the failed education systems. You are the expert for that for me, sir. So thank you for all that you do.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And thanks for everybody being here tonight. We will see you tomorrow night where my guest is going to be Derek Hunter from WMAL. Very excited to have him on. We're going to have a great time hanging out. And it will be a good time. And by the way, if you're a producer of another show, you should go reach out to Chris. You can go follow him at Chris Pabst on X. So thanks for being here, guys. And I will see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern with my good friend, Derek Hunter, who this should be a total car wreck of a show. And I'm